Uh, so that is the layout of the 890. Come on, slideshow, work with me here. That's your red reset button like I was talking about. That's your USB connection, your Ethernet port. So this is looking at the side. You can see pins 1 and 2 is your battery power. This is your I/O on 3 through 7. Your RS-45 is 8, 9, and 10. 10 is being the shield, and then your high, low, and your shield for your CAN connection on the side as well, along with the GPS and your main and your diversity for your cellular antenna. So that's your two outputs that are controlled via WebNet, and then you've got your two inputs with the COM and ground for it that can be used to drive event triggers. Your 485, your CAN, all that fun stuff on the side here. GPS, main diversity. So this is pretty much how the setup is going to work is you're going to have whatever controller you want to connect to would be your DSE module. That's going to connect to the 890 via either USB, Ethernet, 485, uh, or CAN. And then that would then communicate to the DSE WebNet servers. You can also send SMS alerts if you're going cellular to a phone. From the servers, you've got your internet connection, which would then get you to your PC, which would give you access to WebNet or to the app on the smartphone. And you've also got your outgoing email alerts and reports that can be emailed or sent via SMS text messaging, depending on, cellular carriers. This is MQTT. So we do have the ability to do MQTT publishing on the 890. I'll show you just a quick setting on that. You will have to create your own topic files and upload those to the gateway, set up your own MQTT servers because we do not have a broker or anybody like that. We've just given end users the option to do that since they want to get more data or hold longer data out of those because we can only store data up to 30 days. Anything past that gets deleted just because of the size of our servers. Your 890 setup. So we're going to initially, you got to set up your laptop. So you're going to have to go into your Ethernet settings and change it from obtain your IP address automatically. You need to set it manually to use the following IP address of 192.168.1.99 and your subnet of 255.255.255.0. And this is in the installation instructions that you can download on offline as well, which I'll show you where to get those once we go to the actual webnet itself. So once you've got that set up, then you can actually connect an Ethernet cable to the Ethernet port to your laptop. You do not use Config Suite to program these. You use your laptop and a Internet Explorer, Google Chrome, one of those type internet web browser pages. The factory default IP of every gateway before it ships out is 192.168.1.100 with the username admin with a capital A and password with capital P, 1234. They are all factory defaulted to this. So you will need to use this login on initial setup, and the first step is going to be to change that password. So this will take you in, and this is what the page will look like when you first get in. Uh, you'll have the configuration. You'll have to set the password. So you'll have to change that to something that you can remember. You'll hit the apply button and then save config. Once you do that, you will have to re-log in again because now you'll have to use the new password. Once you log back in again, this is going to be where you would go to connect your module initially. You will go to the module connection page, and here it'll have index 1 with a USB will be the default one. So that's a USB connection between your deep C genset controller and the 890. If you're not going to use the USB connection, you're going to delete that line, and then you will use this drop down here where it says add, and then you can add either RS-485, Ethernet, or a USB, and then you would put in your ID number, IP address, however you're going to do that, with a port number if you're using IP. You would then hit apply, save config. So each time you make a change, it's always apply, save config, let it reboot, then we're going to make the next change. In the configuration, you have these tabs up across the top here. On the network tab is where you're going to set up if you're using an Ethernet connection in order to get this thing online. So if you're using Ethernet instead of cellular, this is where you're going to put your settings here. If you want a static IP, you would put in that static IP address and make sure the DHCP is unchecked. Make sure you've got your subnet mask, a gateway IP, DNS if required, if you want to name it and what port you're going to use. And you can also do a discovery enabled as well. Once you set all that, you hit apply and save config. That way it will program that to those specifications that you set for that. If you don't know those settings, reach out to your IT department. They may have certain IP restrictions that they want you to use. So make sure you check with that IT department before you set that up. If you're using a SIM card, you're going to go to the GSM page and you will put in whatever information your cellular provider gives you. Most of the time, I'd say a good 90% of the time, all you're going to need is an APN, which is your access point name, and you would get that from your cellular provider that you choose. Now, across the globe, you can use any SIM card that is GSM capable for your area. I will tell you here in the US, you can use pretty much everybody you want with the exception of Verizon. Verizon is the only one that we're not allowed on the network as of yet. We're still going through testing with them. Hopefully we can get that done soon and that will make it to where we can use any cellular provider. But again, you would get this information from your cellular provider. You can select what GSM bands you're on here, and I'll show you those here in just a little bit. Once you get everything set up, you would hit apply, save config, let it reboot. Let this thing get online. Watch that link light. Once it turns green, you can then put in your phone number here with the country code as well. So even if you're in the U.S., you'll have to do a +1 with an actual plus number here, or whatever country code you got. Then the phone number. You can type in whatever message you want here. Click send SMS, and that's a good way to test and make sure that your text messaging is working after you get this set up. And then you can get with your cellular provider if it doesn't go through to make any changes necessary to get that working. So this is where you would do your test SMS messaging just in case you are using that. So the status page here, this is what it will look like. We have made a change here. This historic WebNet no longer gets a green check mark as it's been combined with the real time. So you'll only see the 2 check marks here with 2 IP addresses, and the status is reading okay. You'll get your response times and all of that stuff. So this will tell you if you're online or not, and that's under the status and the WebNet page. And again, like I said, I'll show you that once we get to the real ones. So you got your web port 80 for just the WebNet, 83 and 443 for your real time, and historic is also over on 83 and 443 as well now. So this is going into WebNet, and this is looking at an account. This is where you're going to add your gateways. So you would go into WebNet, hit the little cog wheel here. That will take you to this account page. Once you're on the account page, you would go to gateways and modules. You will click this plus button here in the circle, and then that will bring up another box in order for you to add the gateway. You're going to need this USB ID, and this is found on the status page info. This USB ID is what you're going to need in order to add into WebNet. You're going to place that. This is the box that shows up in WebNet. You're going to put that in there along with that password that you created on the gateway. Once that happens, then this next box will show up. These gray ones that show disconnected means they're not connected to the 890. And if they're highlighted white, like this one is, you can actually put a check mark here and then click OK, and that would add that module to WebNet. You've got your status page for the network. This is just a log level. So if you're having issues with the 890 connecting, you'll have to connect via the Ethernet cable to it, get this log level out, and we'll show you how to do that. And we'll need that log in order to help you troubleshoot any issues that you've got. Benu has a question. Go ahead. Benu, you're going to have to unmute in order to ask your question.
On the web, under that title, WebNet, there is historic data.
Uh-huh.
It's showing the IP address. But when I brought the device, this module, and tried, the historic data so 0.0 like that IP address. What is reason?
Yeah, that just means that it's not connected, and I'll show you when we get to mine after I get done with the slideshow on what that does.
But it is showing the historic data, I think.
Yeah, I'll show you when I get to my 890. I got a live one that I'm hooked up. I'll show you that when we get there, okay?
Okay, so thank you.
All right. All right. So that's that log level there. Let's see. So why are my slides not moving? Here we go. Okay. So this is the configuration with the file system page here. You can format all your data here if you're having issues with stuff reporting. You can also, once you get to a high enough firmware upgrade, I think it's 4.5.3, you can upgrade over the air instead of needing the USB thumb drive. You can export this debug info, which is what we would need you to do in order to help you troubleshoot stuff. And then you can save historic logs on restart, and then you can apply and save config for that stuff as well. And we'll go over that once I get to my live 890 as well. This is WebNet. So this is what the login page looks like. So you've got your username, your password. You can click remember me. You can reset your password, log in. You've got your gateway quick start setup guide here as well for download, along with any kind of new product updates we'll put on here. You have two options when you're registering for an account. You can register as a user or register as an organization. Most of the time when you guys are dealing with multiple gen sets as an organization, you're going to want this organization account. That way you can break it out into different levels for different technicians, different customers, stuff like that. When you go with just a regular user, you lose a lot of the functionality of it, and you can't really break it out into different segments like you can with an organization. So make sure you choose the proper account for your system. Um, so again, as a user, small number of devices, not required to have additional features of the organization, and a user who needs to be registered under an organization to restrict their access is what you would use as a user. The organization is a single user who wants to gain additional features. If you have a lot of DSE devices to monitor, and if you want to create access permissions to limit access for certain user accounts like technicians and stuff like that. And again, I'll go over those once we get there. There are some things you may want to restrict for safety reasons. So once you log in, this is what the page would look like. You